Looking for a spacious family car? You get an estate. That's a station wagon for you Americans out there. And if you want the car to have some sort of off-roady capabilities, you get an SUV. What if you want to combine both? In that case, look no further than Volvo XC70. No, actually these days it's called Volvo V90 Cross Country.
I know this can get a bit confusing, but bear with me here. In the next few years, Volvo will launch a bunch of new models in different segments, so it needs to clean up its model naming scheme. Back in the day, we had a V70, S80 and XC90. But now it's all called the 90 series, and it includes S90 limousine, V90 estate, XC90 SUV, and now a lifted off-roady estate V90 Cross Country. Depending on the engine variant, V90 Cross Country can tow trailers up to 2.5 tons. Visually, V90 Cross Country differs from an ordinary V90 in that it has a much greater ground clearance, almost 6 centimeters greater in fact. It also sports a bunch of wheel arch and side protectors, as well as tougher bumpers. Tires have more rubber to better cope with the rough stuff. Approach angle is almost 20 degrees, departure angle is almost 18 degrees. Together with tougher suspension, underside protection, more powerful engine as standard, and an off-road driving mode, this car should be able to get by on less frequented tracks. I encourage those of you who haven't seen my review of Volvo V90 to click the link on the screen now and add the video to your watch it later list. Interior is virtually the same. Now let's go for a drive.
Volvo V90 Cross Country is available only with all-wheel drive. Rear wheels are engaged through a 5th generation Haldex coupling. Under the bonnet are, that's for Europe, D4 and D5 diesels and T5 and T6 petrols. You guys in the States are probably interested in T5 and T6 petrol engines. All of them have 2 liters displacement. This test example is a range-topping 320 horsepower T6. Volvo claims it will do 7.7 liters per 100 kilometers. I have no clue how much that is in MPG. Google it. But, you know, let's face it, this car will rather do 10 or 11 liters per 100 kilometers in real life. Cross Country weighs around 2 tons, you have over 300 horsepower under your right foot, so let's face it, you're not exactly going to be driving Miss Daisy with this. I recall, actually recall is a big word, I participated in a Volvo launch event regarding the new Drive E engines. That was a couple of years ago, and perhaps Volvo wanted to persuade journalists that downsizing is good, or perhaps the Polish group occupied the bar until late hours. Anyway, next morning I wasn't able to fully appreciate the T6 engine nor twisty mountain roads around Nice in France. 4 years later, I sobered up and I think it's a pretty good engine. Don't get me wrong, I still believe there is no replacement for displacement, but Volvo must have tweaked something, and now I don't feel the lack of cylinders or power, not on the motorway, not on these mountain roads.
Steering, like in the XC90 and V90, is on the light side. The first couple of dozen kilometers I swayed from left to right. On the motorway, lane keeping assist is a good idea. Later on you'll get used to it, but somewhere in the back of my head there's this yearning for better steering feedback. Well, tough luck. At least I can still drive it on my own. Of course, Volvo added all sorts of safety systems and driver aids. There is pilot assist, a pedestrian detection system, and a wild animal detection system. Accidents involving wildlife seem to be one of the major causes of fatal road accidents in Sweden. An interesting solution is the cloud. For now, it works only in Volvo cars in Sweden. If a car, say a kilometer ahead, encounters black ice, I will be notified and can slow down. Similarly, if a car in front stops and turns on hazard lights, drivers in the vicinity are notified and can react. This is an open system and Volvo wants to share it with other car manufacturers, but time will tell whether this is going to be a new standard or other ideas will emerge.
In my Volvo V90 review, I said the car encouraged fast driving, but at the same time leaned a fair bit in the bends. It's a similar thing with the V90 Cross Country, but obviously the Cross Country has a much higher ground clearance, so with this kind of ground clearance, this sort of lean is absolutely acceptable. Volvo V90 Cross Country has rather comfortable suspension, although the seats are on the firm side. And there is no more noise coming from the rear suspension. Apparently, the problem has been fixed.
But Volvo V90 Cross Country should be able to do some cross-country driving. Let me look for something suitable so we can put it to the test.
I was on the way to the hotel and then I saw this hill. It may not look very dramatic from down here, but trust me, it's quite high. And this Volvo V90 Cross Country, well, it better climb up it. We'll see how it goes. By the way, as you can probably imagine, I'm totally unprepared, like most novice off-roaders, so fingers crossed. To be honest, I have no clue what's going to happen. Now, this field is frozen, so it shouldn't be too slippery. I shouldn't get stuck. But at the same time, well, it's frozen, so it may be slippery. Still, I'm on some sort of winter tires. Volvo V90 Cross Country has a slightly deeper tread than in case of the ordinary V90, so let's see what happens. As you can see, probably from this camera, I'm in off-road mode, which should help me conquer this hill. So far, no drama. Okay, it's starting to get a bit bumpy, but you know, it's a field, so it's supposed to be bumpy. Good news is, I can always slide back, so even if I get stuck, it shouldn't be too bad. Volvo V90 Cross Country has 21 centimeter ground clearance, so that's more than some SUVs actually, so that definitely helps. And look at that! Here I am on top. Unbelievable. What a view! Okay, that was easy. Now we go down. Okay, I'm still in off-road mode, so let's see if there is a hill descent control system. Yes, there is. I can see an icon here on the display. So I'm not touching anything, I'm not touching the pedals. The car is just driving down the hill by itself. Easy peasy. It's actually nice the car is doing the work for me. I didn't even have to put anything on, any special mode. The car actually feels that I'm descending. And here we are.
From a time perspective, I think I'd rather have a button to activate the hill descent assist system. Sometimes I'd like to drive in off-road mode but go a bit faster without brakes intervening. I also wouldn't mind a dedicated front camera button. Wing mirrors are big and they obstruct visibility when approaching a junction, so a quick glance at the screen would help. Prices of Volvo V90 Cross Country start at around 57,000 euro. This test example costs around 85 grand.
Otherwise, Volvo V90 Cross Country is a great continuation of one of my favorite cars, the XC70. And this is one of those cars I would like to see parked in my driveway every day. What about you? Do you like the off-roady type of station wagon car, or do you like regular estates or perhaps SUVs are your cup of tea? Let me know in the comments below. Share, rate, subscribe. New episodes every Friday. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.